First contact with human warfare. Commander Vixul adjusted her sensory membranes as she observed the human military complex through the viewport of her research vessel. The crystalline structures of her body shimmered with nervous energy. After 3 cycles of studying humanity from afar, the Galactic Coalition had finally permitted direct observation of Earth's defense forces. Recording systems operational, Commander, announced sub-researcher Kirizat, his digits dancing across the holographic interface. Coalition Command requests detailed analysis of all observations. Acknowledged, Vixul replied, her voice a melodic series of harmonics. This mission is of utmost importance. Humanity is the newest species in our coalition, yet their rapid advancement in warfare technologies and strategies has raised concerns and curiosity alike. The research team of 12 diverse aliens represented the Coalition's scientific division, tasked with understanding humanity's unique approach to conflict. Their ship had been granted permission to dock at Earth's Unified Defense Command in the North American region. Atmospheric conditions suitable for all team members, reported Medical Officer Dr. Jorlath, a gelatinous being whose translucent body housed multiple organs capable of analyzing environmental conditions instantly. Humans have accommodated our biological requirements impressively. Vixul led her team through the airlock, where they were greeted by Colonel Marcus Reynolds, a tall human with dark skin and piercing eyes that seemed to evaluate each alien with remarkable speed. "Welcome to Earth Defense Command," Reynolds said, extending a hand in the human greeting gesture. "We've prepared demonstration exercises across various combat scenarios. Your analysis will help strengthen our mutual defense capabilities." Vixul grasped his hand with her crystalline appendage. "Thank you, Colonel. We've studied your historical conflicts extensively, but witnessing active training will provide invaluable data." Reynolds led them to an observation deck overlooking an enormous training facility. Below, human soldiers moved through a simulated urban environment, engaging with automated enemy systems. "First observation sequence commencing," announced Kirizat, activating the team's recording devices. What followed confounded the alien researchers. The human units split up, regrouped, and acted in ways that appeared chaotic and undisciplined. Soldiers would deliberately expose positions only to vanish and reappear elsewhere. Communication seemed minimal, yet coordination remained high. Their tactical patterns defy standard military algorithms, noted strategic analyst Venpor, her insectoid eyes blinking rapidly as she attempted to process the scene. "I'm detecting no consistent formation maintenance." Colonel Reynolds smiled slightly. "We call it adaptive tactical fluidity. Each soldier is trained to make independent decisions while maintaining awareness of overall objectives." The demonstration continued into a simulated forest environment. Here, the aliens watched as human units created deliberate gaps in their formations, apparent weaknesses that turned into deadly traps for the automated enemy systems that attempted to exploit them. "Fascinating," Vixul murmured, her crystalline form vibrating with excitement. "They're weaponizing apparent vulnerability." "Humans call it baiting," explained Reynolds, "creating a perceived opportunity that is actually a trap." By midday, the research team had observed 5 different combat scenarios. In each, the human forces employed strategies that initially appeared disorganized or flawed, but revealed themselves as sophisticated manipulations of battlefield psychology. During a break in the observations, Vixul conferred with her team in their private chamber. "Their approach contradicts 2,000 cycles of coalition tactical development," she noted. "Our doctrine emphasizes perfect formation, predictable support patterns, and clearly defined command structures. It's inefficient," argued tactical specialist Morphon, his gaseous form swirling with agitation. "Their methods would collapse against a disciplined coalition force." "Would they?" questioned Vixul. "Consider the third demonstration. The human unit deliberately created communication silence, leading the automated system to believe they were in disarray. The resulting ambush was executed with precision despite no observable coordination." After the break, Colonel Reynolds introduced the team to Major Sophia Chen, head of Earth's Strategic Innovation Command. Major Chen will explain our approach to asymmetric warfare, Reynolds said. Chen, a compact woman with calculating eyes, activated a holographic display showing various Earth combat zones from the past century. Humanity learned warfare through necessity, Chen explained. Unlike coalition species who developed interstellar travel before encountering external threats, we evolved surrounded by competing human factions. War was constant, driving rapid adaptation. The display showed historical battles where numerically inferior forces defeated larger armies through unconventional tactics. We learned that perfect formation and predictable patterns create exploitable weaknesses, Chen continued. Unpredictability became our advantage. Vixel absorbed this information with growing fascination. Your species embraces chaos as a tactical element. We don't see it as chaos, Chen replied. We see it as controlled unpredictability. Every soldier understands the mission parameters, but has freedom to achieve objectives through situational adaptation. The afternoon demonstrations showcased hybrid warfare, combining conventional military tactics with cyber operations, misinformation, and psychological manipulation. Human units would hack enemy systems, feed false intelligence, and create elaborate deceptions that left their opponents responding to shadows. By day's end, Vixol's team had compiled terabytes of data. As they returned to their vessel, the commander found herself unsettled by what they had witnessed. Their approach to warfare is disturbing, admitted Venpor. They think like predators, not soldiers. Perhaps that's what makes them effective, countered Vixol. They understand that war is ultimately psychological, a contest of wills and perception. The research team spent 3 days observing Earth's military operations before returning to Galactic Coalition headquarters to present their findings. The Grand Chamber of the Coalition Military Council fell silent as Vixol's presentation reached its conclusion. In summary, she stated, her crystalline form glowing with conviction, human military doctrine emphasizes what they call tactical fluidity. Their force is trained to operate effectively without constant command oversight, to adapt strategies mid-battle, and to weaponize unpredictability. Supreme Commander Jolak, a massive reptilian being whose scales had darkened with age and experience, leaned forward. You propose that we incorporate these chaotic methods into coalition doctrine. We have refined our approach over thousands of cycles. With respect, Supreme Commander, Vixol countered, our refined approach has become predictable. The recent conflicts with the Dorvax hegemony revealed the limitations of our standardized tactics. The council chamber erupted in debate. Many senior commanders rejected the human approach as undisciplined and risky. Others, particularly younger officers who had faced recent defeats, showed interest in these new concepts. After hours of deliberation, Supreme Commander Jolak raised a clawed hand for silence. Commander Vixol has presented compelling evidence. While we cannot abandon our proven doctrine, we will establish an experimental division to incorporate human tactical elements. Commander Vixol will oversee this initiative with human advisors. Vixol's sensory membranes quivered with excitement and apprehension. Teaching coalition forces to think like humans would be challenging. The ingrained military traditions of many member species emphasized order, predictability, and clear chains of command. As the council adjourned, Fleet Admiral Ptora, an avian commander known for her progressive thinking, approached Vixol privately. Your initiative faces significant resistance, Ptora warned, her feathers ruffling. Many believe human tactics work only because humans implement them. Then we must prove otherwise, Vixol replied confidently. The Galactic Coalition must evolve or face extinction against adversaries willing to embrace new methods. Little did Vixol know that opportunity to prove human tactics would come sooner than anyone expected, and against a threat that had confounded coalition forces for generations. The ultimate test. 3 months after establishing the Adaptive Tactics Division, Commander Vixol received an urgent transmission from Coalition High Command. Her crystalline form vibrated with alarm as Supreme Commander Jolak's reptilian visage filled the communication array. "Commander, the Khazari swarm has launched a major offensive against Outpost Epsilon 9, Jolak announced, his scales darkening with stress. "Standard defense protocols have failed. The outpost will fall within 48 hours without intervention." Vixol felt her core structure tense. The Khazari, a hive-mind species of insectoid warriors, had been a persistent threat to Coalition space for centuries. Their overwhelming numbers and singular consciousness made them formidable opponents against traditional military formations. "The Seventh Fleet is being deployed," continued Jolak, "but conventional tactics have proven ineffective against swarm incursions. Your Adaptive Tactics Division is hereby activated for combat operations." "We're not fully prepared," Vixol admitted. "Integration of human tactical doctrine is still in early stages." Jolak's massive head swayed in acknowledgement. "Nevertheless, you will deploy immediately. I've requested human tactical advisors to join your command team. The survival of Epsilon 9 and its 12,000 colonists depends on finding an approach the Khazari cannot anticipate." Within hours, Vixol's command ship, the Crystalline Resonance, was en route to Epsilon 9, accompanied by 14 Coalition vessels representing her experimental division. Midway through their journey, a human transport ship rendezvoused with them, delivering a tactical advisory team led by Major Sophia Chen and Captain Jamal Williams. "The situation is deteriorating rapidly," Chen explained during the emergency briefing, displaying tactical holograms of the besieged outpost. "The Khazari have surrounded Epsilon 9 with approximately 300 high ships. Their attack pattern follows their standard doctrine: waves of synchronized assaults that probe for structural weaknesses. Our conventional defenses are designed to withstand such attacks," noted Sub-Commander Kirzat. "Why are they failing?" "Because the Khazari adapt," explained Captain Williams, a broad-shouldered human with keen eyes that missed nothing. "Each wave learns from the previous. They're effectively running simulations against your defenses until they find the optimal attack vector." Vixol studied the tactical display. "The Seventh Fleet will arrive in 26 hours. Our division will reach Epsilon 9 in 11. What do you propose, Major Chen?" The human officer smiled, her expression containing an emotion Vixol had come to recognize as predatory satisfaction. "We give them exactly what they expect, and then we don't," Chen said, manipulating the holographic display. "The Khazari function as a hive mind, meaning they excel at processing predictable patterns, but struggle with randomized responses. We're going to use that against them." Chen outlined a radical defensive strategy that violated virtually every principle of Coalition military doctrine. Rather than forming a unified defensive perimeter around Epsilon 9, Chen proposed splitting their forces into seemingly uncoordinated groups, each operating independently with minimal communication. "This approach surrenders our numerical advantage," protested Fleet Officer Morphon, his gaseous form swirling with agitation. "The Khazari outnumber us 20 to 1. Numbers mean nothing if they're concentrated where the enemy isn't," Williams countered. "The Khazari expect a structured defense. When they don't find one, they'll hesitate, searching for the pattern, the trap. That hesitation is our advantage." After intense debate, Vixol made her decision. "We will implement the human strategy. All vessels will receive sealed mission parameters to be opened only upon arrival. Minimal communication will be maintained once engagement begins." Many of her officers departed the briefing with obvious concern, but Vixol had witnessed enough of human tactics to trust their unconventional approach. The Khazari had never faced humanity, had never encountered a species that weaponized unpredictability. When the Coalition task force arrived at Epsilon 9, the situation appeared even more dire than reported. The outpost's outer defenses were nearly depleted, with Khazari high ships launching coordinated attacks against its weakening shield generators. "All vessels, execute your sealed orders," Vixol commanded. Maintain communication silence except for emergency protocols. Good hunting. What followed appeared, even to Vixol's trained eye, as chaos. Coalition ships broke formation, some charging directly at Khazari vessels, while others performed seemingly random maneuvers in open space. Some appeared to retreat, others drifted powerless, and a few engaged in conventional attack patterns. From her command center, Vixol monitored the battle with growing tension. For the first time in her military career, she had no clear picture of her force's overall strategy, exactly as Major Chen had intended. "The Khazari are hesitating," Chen observed, studying the enemy movements. "Look, they're pulling back scout ships to reassess." Sure enough, the synchronized attacks against Epsilon 9 had faltered. The Hive ships began moving in unusual patterns, breaking their own formations as they attempted to discern the coalition strategy. "They're confused," Williams said with satisfaction. "The hive mind is searching for patterns it can understand and finding none." As the battle progressed, the apparent chaos of coalition movements revealed itself as carefully orchestrated deception. Vessels that appeared damaged suddenly powered up weapon systems at critical moments. Ships that seemed to flee circled back to strike exposed flanks. Communication silence prevented the Khazari from predicting movements by intercepting orders. When the Coalition's 7th Fleet arrived, they found not a desperate last stand, but a transformed battlefield. The Khazari forces had been fractured and scattered, their high ships unable to maintain cohesion against an enemy they couldn't predict. "They're retreating," announced Kirzat with disbelief, as the remaining Khazari vessels broke orbit and accelerated toward deep space. "We've driven them back." The celebration aboard the command ship was tempered by assessments of their losses. 3 coalition vessels had been destroyed, and 7 others sustained significant damage. Yet compared to previous engagements with the Khazari, where entire fleets had been annihilated, the victory was unprecedented. 2 days later, Supreme Commander Zolak himself arrived at Epsilon 9 to personally review the battle. In the outpost's Grand Assembly Hall, Vixol and Major Chen presented their analysis. "The Khazari hive mind is optimized for processing consistent patterns," Chen explained to the assembled coalition leadership. "When confronted with seemingly random actions that nevertheless achieved coordinated results, their decision-making processes effectively short-circuited." Zolak's ancient eyes narrowed. "You're suggesting that apparent disorder was actually coordinated." "Every ship captain understood their mission parameters," Vixol clarified. "They were given freedom to achieve objectives through any means necessary, creating an unpredictable battlefield that the enemy couldn't decode." The Supreme Commander was silent for a long moment, his massive form perfectly still in contemplation. Finally, he spoke. "For 12 generations, the Coalition has fought the Khazari to standstills at best, devastating defeats at worst. Yet a single battle employing human tactical doctrine has achieved what our traditional approach could not." His scales rippled in what Vixol recognized as thoughtful consideration. "It seems we have much to learn from our newest allies." In the months that followed, the Adaptive Tactics Division expanded dramatically. Human military advisors were integrated throughout coalition forces, teaching their approach to controlled unpredictability. Traditional commanders initially resisted, but results couldn't be ignored. The coalition recorded a 70% increase in tactical effectiveness against diverse threats. 1 year after the Battle of Epsilon 9, Commander Vixol, now Admiral Vixol, stood aboard her new flagship watching human and alien officers training together. Her research mission had transformed into something far greater, a fundamental reimagining of warfare across the galaxy. "It's remarkable how quickly the Coalition has adapted," observed Major Chen, who had become a permanent liaison to Vixol's command staff. "Perhaps not so remarkable," Vixol replied, her crystalline form glowing with satisfaction. "We've simply learned what humans always knew, that evolution requires embracing the unexpected. The greatest strength isn't perfect order, but perfect adaptability." As their ships prepared for a new mission against a Khazari stronghold, Vixul realized the true lesson humanity had taught the galaxy. The universe was inherently unpredictable, and those who embraced that truth would always hold the advantage over those who denied it.